Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. This is USA Global TV and radio, and I am Ricki McKenna. I'm your chef today on the United Kitchens. And for the last 23 years, I have played chef and certified nutritionist, and I welcome you to my kitchen. You know, working with everything from little kids to corporations, corporate heads, and CEOs, and so forth. And I've been all over the place today. So today we're handling chicken. And for Global TV, we will show you how to do chicken wings, something that I have to confess I have never done before. So you and I are in the same boat if you've never made them before, and it's going to be kind of fun. The first thing we're going to do is cut the wing tips off. And I prefer to wear gloves when I'm handling raw chicken or any kind of raw meat, but especially raw chicken. And so what I suggest is if you don't have gloves, it's up to you. Now, the fun part, we're going to do peppery chicken wings, which are broiled first. And this is kind of one of those meals for watching TV, football games, or whatever, whichever kind of football you watch, wherever you are in the world. And so we're doing the spicy stuffed eggs to go along with the peppery chicken wings. So first thing we're going to do is I've got the whole wing in my hand, and we're going to take that little tip off. Now, if you're wondering how you find the joint with the little tip, just kind of wiggle it a little bit, and you can see there's a space. It's kind of hard to see, actually, but anyway, there is a space in there, which is where you put your knife, and it will break the joint very carefully and easily. Do get a sharp knife, though. I do recommend that. And so we're going to cut a few more of these up so we can put them in the broiling pan and get them started. I've preheated my oven to broil. And we're going to cook up a little sauce that works to go with it as well. One thing I want to say about your chicken, if you can get organic chickens, there is a difference in the taste and in the consistency of them. So I would advise as much as you can to buy organic meats and chicken. And there we go. There's our little spot. It does really work easily. And so if you want to, it says in the recipes that I've read, discard the wings. Well, I would suggest that you don't want to discard these little pieces, as tiny as they are, and they don't contain a lot of meat. However, make sure you take the feathers out as well. What I would suggest is if you're going to make chicken soup, wings are a wonderful part of the chicken soup because any of the moving parts of the chicken contain a lot of collagen. And in order to really get collagen, here comes the nutritionist, you really need to ingest it in some form or another. And chicken wings can make great parts of chicken soup. I do believe we haven't. Here we go. I think we have one last wing tip to get rid of. And just for anybody who's interested, it's, I think today is Amelia Earhart's birthday. And Amelia Earhart would have considered her wing tips very important. Just a joke. Okay, so we've got chicken wings, and I'm going to put them over behind me. And we're going to focus on these little buddies. We've got, let's see, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3. And we've got both parts. We've got the skinny wing tip and then the part that looks like a little leg. So with all the collagen that's in the wings, you want to be able to absorb that collagen into your body. Now, excuse me while I remove the glove. Here we go. And I'm going to take some avocado oil. Actually, I'm going to take both gloves off. And take my avocado oil, about a teaspoon. But these are kind of big babies, so I put a little more than a teaspoon in there. And about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So we're just going to sprinkle all that in there with the oil. Let's see. And you know, if you really like spicy wings, you can add more than a teaspoon. And just whisk that together. And then we get to put our wings in there and on a broiling pan. Yeah, that should be quite enough. And 1 second. Okay. We're going to coat the wings. I think I'm going to have to add a little bit more because the recipe actually called for that little bit of oil and cayenne because they only used the skinny parts of the wing. But what I'm going to do is use the whole part of the whole wing. And let's move this over a little bit. And so I'm going to have some more oil and cayenne. And I'm just going to lay them out one at a time. They're going to be pretty spicy and pretty tasty. Okay. Let's do a little bit more mixing here. So we've got our avocado oil. And it's alive and well. And we've got cayenne pepper. Might as well have fun doing this. Usually people make recipes like this for something like a football game, as I said, or a baseball game, or some sport that you're watching on TV. Maybe it's soccer. And you're just going to whisk it up with the wing itself. Here we go. And I tell you what I'm going to do, because I think it'll be more economical, is to put a couple of them in there at the same time. And just whisk them up. And if they happen to fly away, as this one tried, if you have any pets around the house that like chicken, pick them up first. Anyway, okay, so here we go. We're spreading our wings out on the broiling pan. I'm making sure that I coat both sides of the wing. And let's see how many we end up with. Oop, might have to mix some more. These are thirsty little wings. They're picking up the oil and the cayenne pepper quite easily. You can also use a fork or a bigger tongs that are a little bit bigger, which I do have. These were pretty handy, so we're just take that out. And they will shrink a little bit on the pan, so you can put them next to each other. I don't believe they'll stick. Oh, we do need to mix some more. As I said, these are thirsty. You can use avocado oil, or you can use olive oil if you like, or even peanut oil. And make your little coating here. Okay, we'll whisk this one officially. So some will be a little more spicy than others. And of course, we're going to make a dip in a few minutes for them. Here we go. And if you wanted to use some other parts of the chicken, my favorite, of course, is the thigh and the leg. But the wings, as I say, are fun. And these are pretty big wings. I was really surprised at the size of these and very pleased, actually, because they will make a nice meal. And as I said, one of the advantages of having the wings And even the little tips is they do contain the collagen in any of the moving parts of the chicken. There we go. All right. So we have our broiler pan set, and I'm going to put it in the oven. And it'll take about 20 minutes. And so in the meantime, we'll just set the timer for 18 and see how that works. In the meantime, we will make our stuffed eggs. So I've got my hard-boiled eggs, and a couple of tips using hard-boiled eggs. If they're hard to peel, when you start to open them, run them under water as you're peeling them. So we'll see how these work. I'm going to cool them off a little bit first because they just finished boiling. And unfortunately, in Houston, sometimes the cold water doesn't get quite as cold as you would wish it does. But that's okay. So I'll just let them sit here and cool for a little bit. And take my board away and get my knife out. And we're going to start peeling. And we have a little bowl in which we're going to prepare the dip. So I'm going to put these back over here and let them cool off. And we're going to make the dip for the wings. Just wanted to get those eggs set so we can do the stuffed eggs in a few minutes. Okay, so for our dip, we are using blue cheese, apple cider vinegar, onion, and buttermilk. And a little bit of yogurt. So we'll put our yogurt in. And of course, when you serve this, you can put the dip right in the middle of everything. I'm going to let the liquid go out of the yogurt. And what I have is plain Greek yogurt. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon, I believe. Nope, half a cup. So we'll do. So you can see that the dip is yogurt based. It should be about 2.5 tablespoons, almost 3, is equal to half a cup. And we'll put our yogurt here. And then we're going to add, let's see what we put in first. I think the buttermilk. So I've got a 1/4 cup of buttermilk to go in with my plain yogurt. Mix that up. Actually, I'm going to use my whisk to mix it up. So we're mixing together the buttermilk and the plain yogurt, which makes it kind of tangy. And then we are going to add, I'm going to put the blue cheese in now. It's crumbled. And I'm going to put it in a little bit at a time so I can break it up just a little bit more. There we go. So now we have yogurt and buttermilk and blue cheese, which sounds really good to me. And we're going to mix that up. If I can get it out of the whisk. There we go. Actually, I think a fork would be really good to do this with. As I said, I hadn't done this one before because you want to be able to get to the blue cheese. And I think the fork works a little bit better than that whisk, unless you have a tinier whisk that you want to use. That would be fine. Now we're going to grate about half of an onion. A small onion, I have, about this much. It's probably close to 1/4 cup by the time we get through with it. And I'm going to grate it right on top so it goes directly into the dip, which makes it far easier, especially for cleanup. Now, you notice it's going to be kind of liquidy, which is fine because you're making a dip, so you don't want a lot of chunky stuff in there. And all these wonderful ingredients are going to combine to make this a very tasty dip. Okay. And let's see, if you're in someplace like Houston, there's a lot of people here who are totally sports fans. So this, as I said, would be one of the greatest recipes for them. But it also nutritionally is a pretty good deal. I had to convince myself of that, by the way, because I thought, well, chicken wings, I'd rather have a thigh. There's a lot more meat. But again, the chicken wings are part of the chicken that has high collagen content, as do the thighs. But the thighs are more dark meat, and for those people who prefer dark meat, they might be a little better selection. Okay, we are finally grating this. And I'm just going to do a little bit more because I like the oniony flavor in there. And onions, of course, are really good for you. They have sulforaphane, as do garlic and shallots. And they're part of the family that is wonderful as antioxidant and for taste. Okay, we got lots of the grated onion on the back, so remember that part when you're grating. And we'll just mix that right in. Ooh, yeah. And now, so we've got buttermilk, yogurt, onion, grated in, and blue cheese crumbled in. And so far, I'm going to give it a taste just to see how we're doing as far as dips go. Interesting. It's very light, but remember, we coated the wings with cayenne pepper. And you can taste the onion. And now we're going to make it just a little bit more tangy. I'm going to put a little bit more onion in, actually. Let's just do a little more of that. This is where your intuition and tasting is important when you're cooking. So if you're making something, especially for the first time, and you know your crowd that's coming to eat, it helps to have a taste. So you make sure that you get the consistency and the taste that you want. Whoops, that's important. And it also helps to use the right side of the grater, especially when you want to get the onion done. All right. If I'm a little goofy today, you'll have to forgive me. We've had construction going on in the house studio, and I don't think you can see it, but we've had holes in the walls because we put in all new plumbing. So if you've ever gone through that and you decide to keep on cooking, just make sure to do the kitchen first and finish up with that. Okay, there we go. A little bit more onion for some zing. And we need about a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So we'll give that, excuse me. I always like to make sure my apple cider vinegar is a little bit mixed because sometimes it settles on the bottom, especially if it's organic and it's actually made from apples. So we'll put in a teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar and mix that up. And I can start to smell our wings, so I'm going to take a quick look in the oven while I mix in the vinegar. And I'll tell you a little bit more about vinegar in just a second. Oh, lovely. They're browning beautifully. And we have about 10 minutes to go. There we go. Make sure my oven timer is on. Now I'm going to give it a taste. Tell you a little bit more about vinegar nutritionally, especially apple cider vinegar. Ooh, got better. Got a lot more zing now. As I said though, most of your spice, hot stuff, is in the cayenne pepper, which is already on the wings. So you don't have to really worry about having the dip as a spicy part of the meal. So we have our dip ready. And I have a lovely platter over here that I'm going to put it on. So when our wings are ready, we'll have the dip right in the middle. Let's put that over here for now. And get back to our eggs. All right. Now that they've cooled down a little bit, they'll be easier to handle. And we have 6 eggs, and if you'll bear with me for a second while I just do a little cleanup here. There we go. And as my friend Simon would say, messy paws are not good, so I cleaned them up. All right, so now we have hard-boiled eggs. What I do with my eggs is usually cook them for about, once the water starts boiling, I put them in cold, when the water is cold, and I bring it up to boil. Then I put a timer on for about 12 minutes. And usually, we're at sea level, of course, so that usually is enough time to get the eggs thoroughly hard-boiled. And let's see if we, oh, lovely. We're just going to take our peels off one at a time. We're going to do 6 eggs, which basically will give us, with this recipe, it's similar to deviled eggs, but not exactly the same. And what I'm going to do to keep them from running all over the place is put a piece of paper towel down. There we go. That should help them sit a little better. And what I was going to tell you before about the apple cider vinegar, first thing in the morning, one of the things I do is take a fresh lemon and squeeze about, half of it into a glass of warm water or room temperature water and drink it. Now you can add a tablespoon or 2 of apple cider vinegar. It's a wonderful way to wake up and have your insides that have been working all night to cleanse you and pass things through. The first thing in the morning, it's a wonderful drink to really help that cleanse come through. And if you're doing something called intermittent fasting, if you're not ready to eat a meal at that point, then it's really good because it does help fill your stomach and keep things satisfied. So the apple cider vinegar, you can use plain vinegar too, but apple cider vinegar is a lot better. And there we go. These eggs are just coming off beautifully. And I promise you that we will make sure that none of them have any pieces of the shell on them before we use them. There we go. We're going to take some of the yolks, and interestingly, one of the things I love about food is almost every part of anything can be used and can be eaten. Now, eggs, interestingly, for many years, unfortunately, were touted as not being good for you because of the fat and cholesterol in the yolks. Well, the scientific world finally agreed with most of the nutritionists who were saying, you guys are a little bit off here. And they decided that it was okay to eat the whole egg, not just the white, which is the protein part. So one of the things that as a nutritionist I've always touted is when you're eating a balanced meal, which means usually a protein and a carb and a fat, because you do need good fats and to help Here we go. To help you digest and utilize vitamins D, E, A, and K. So you do need good fats in your diet, as well as the proteins and the carbs. Okay, so we have 6 lovely hard-boiled eggs. And I'm going to get the shells out of the way here because we don't want to get them in any part of the dip that we're making or the egg stuffing that we're making. Now, what we're going to do is take them, as I said before, if they don't come off easily, you'll peel them under hot water. Okay, I'm going to cut them in half. Let me get a plate. And we're going to check on the wings because my nose is telling me that they might be ready a little bit sooner. Ah, lovely. Nope, they have a little more time to go. Okay. We don't want to burn them after all those efforts. Okay, and let's just cut our eggs in half. And we will get a small bowl into which we will put the yolks of 2 of them. Let's see, they should come out quite easily. Whoop, we have a little dip on here, so I'm going to wash that. And we're going to make the filling for our eggs. If you've ever made deviled eggs, you know what this is like. And this is going to be similar, but not quite the same. Whoops. Well, let's reserve that yolk, or that white, because it broke. And we're trying to get the eggs so that we have nice little cavities to fill. Here we go. Whoops. This is the tricky part, getting the egg yolk out without breaking the white. And the white, of course, is where the protein is found. The yolk is where the fats and the cholesterol are found. Now, I want to explain something as a nutritionist, that I believe that we need cholesterol, and most nutritionists and doctors know we need some. The good stuff, which it's called, or good cholesterol, is found in the eggs, as well as the LDL. The HDL is considered the good stuff, and the LDL is considered the not so good stuff. It's interesting because we do need both of them for healing. If we didn't have cholesterol in our bodies, they would not heal with all the other ingredients like fibrin and other blood substances that help you heal. Now, we've got most of the egg yolks in here, and believe it or not, this recipe said use 2 for the filling. So what we're going to do is grab something else here. Okay, we are going to take the rest of these yolks, because I'm going to keep 2 in here, and take the rest of these yolks and put them in another bowl for later. Okay. Here, I've got 1, and we'll take 1 more out of this egg. So I have 2 yolks that I'm using for the fillings. Oops, okay, there's another one that I'm going to be using. And it also calls, and I've never seen this before, it also calls for 2 of the egg yolks and mashing 4 of the egg whites together. So we're going to take 1, 2, 3, and 4, which to me is a lot. So I'm going to put the other one out there. You can interpret this as you like. and grab a fork and start mashing. If you want to, you can chop them up with a knife, but it's just as easy to use a fork in this case. And we'll spread out our nice little egg whites that are going to be filled. And let's see. Okay, we have a green onion that I'm going to chop fine to go in there. And grab my knife. Okay. It's interesting, I don't like discarding food if it's edible. So what we're going to do with the yolks later is I can just eat them, mash them up and eat them. And you can take them and fry them up with something like a green spinach or something like that. Just add them to it. You can use them. Actually, it would be very interesting to take them and use them with oatmeal because you're adding the fats that will slow down the uptake of the carbs and the sugar in the oatmeal. So today we're getting the nutritional lessons along with the cooking lessons. Anyway.
Hello, everyone. It looks like Ricki's having some technical difficulties. So let's take a quick commercial break and hopefully she will be back with us. Okay. Thank you so much. Here we go.
morning, everyone. My name is JACALYN Xiao. I'm a ballerina from Italy. After 2 years of waiting, finally I fulfilled my dream of learning etiquette. This learning process has become unforgettable for me. The patient and professional teachers have helped me to get a more comprehensive knowledge about etiquette culture. The British School of Excellence provided me the best way to live gracefully, respectful attitude, lighter mood, and heart, where our love is innocent. Thank you.
Feel the sweet desire, let the music start to free your soul. Feel the step and fire moving up and down out of control. Feel the sweet desire, let the music start to free your soul. Feel the step and fire moving up and down and out of control. Feel the sweet desire, let the music start to free your soul. Feel the step and fire moving up and down out of control. Feel the sweet desire, let the music free your soul.
everyone, and welcome back to the show. Obviously, I'm not Chef Ricky, and I don't know how to make chicken wings. So unfortunately, we're going to have to close out this show for now. I was hoping she would pop back in, but I know she has some internet issues. So please do go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV, and you can go to our playlist, The United Kitchens. You can also find more information and our shows. We have 28 live shows a week, and that number is only growing. We started something recently that is an opportunity for each and every one of you. Would you like to be a guest co-host for a show with me? Now you have an opportunity to do that. We had our first person sign up yesterday. Just go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and you'll see this: be a guest co-host for a show. It'll be a lot of fun. So I look forward to having you join me there. Also, this is an opportunity for everyone and anyone. I have another new show called Rapping with Dr. JACALYN. Rapping with Dr. JACALYN is the name of my first TV show and the name of my first radio show. And I actually had it trademarked and then didn't use it again as we continue to grow. And now I'm bringing it back. So this is a show about nothing. And what that means is there is no topic, there's no agenda, and there's no script. It's just an opportunity for you and I to sit and have a chat about anything and everything, wherever it goes. Who knows? So I'd like to get to know you, and that's your opportunity to get to know me and have the world hear your story just very casually, very comfortably, as we sit almost like in a virtual living room. All right, folks, thank you so much. Our next show is coming up. It is The Listening Mentor, followed by Loving Longevity. And then we close out the day with presenting Pet Psychic Amina. We broadcast Monday through Friday. And again, we have opportunities for you if you're interested in hosting, co-hosting, being an expert presenter, being an elevated listener, being a panelist, or maybe something else that I haven't thought of yet. Okay, thank you again. Bye.